talk about you being back at the helm on the bench for Northern Michigan, obviously getting a new team. What was the feelings like being back in the green and gold behind the bench for Northern?
Proud of our guys, really proud of our guys. I think going into the game against Tech, you're always anxious. You knew you got to factor in the guys are going to be a little nervous, but we're putting a lot of things together. 22 guys dressed for the game. Out of the 20, it was their first time in that building, ever. And probably 90% of the guys, that was the biggest crowd they've ever played in front of. And what a great crowd. What a great game, great atmosphere for all the guys to experience that. Recapping the game, obviously the nerves are there early. I think they scored on their third shift. But as the game went on, our guys, our puck poise and our ability to make plays and our workload, our compete physicality was all there. And I thought in the second and third period, we were the better team. In fact, I thought we outchanced them 5-on-5. We were the better team. And the score could have been a little bit different. They won, obviously, the special teams, but, they had a pretty good power play last year. They have some real good talent. But I thought we went toe-to-toe with them. I said, guys, that was awesome. We did better than expected. We know what's going to take, even though it was an exhibition game. We'll see where we're at when we see them again in 4 or 5 weeks here. And our team is about process-based, day-to-day. And like I said to everybody, we're not worried about the results right now. We are who we are. We're young. We're inexperienced. A lot of new, fresh faces. And that's not going to change, and that's going to take time to get better, like I said, on a day-to-day basis and a weekly basis. And our guys did that. They passed. I said I gave them probably a B+, A- for the first showing in an unbelievable game. It was like a regular season game. And if you talk to Joe up there, who's done an incredible job, and again, he thought we played very well. We're shaking hands. He goes, you guys got a good team there. It's going to certainly be better in 3 or 4 weeks and a different type of challenge when we're playing the one-on-one series. So real proud of our guys. Real proud of our guys.
I guess talk about the way you guys responded. Every time you guys got down, you were able to work your way back. I mean, how much did that impress you with a team that didn't necessarily know about themselves and compete the way they did?
Well, it shows good resolve and real good resiliency. And I think a big part of that, and you guys know, we talked early, a lot of our team right now is new, but the culture stuff that we've been doing, culture's big. Our guys are tight. They're getting more comfortable in their personalities. They're not as nervous. And when you have a team like that doesn't have a whole lot of upperclassmen respond after giving up a goal, that's a real positive thing. And like I said, it shows great resiliency for our group so early in the season.
Do you think of the goaltending with Ouellette, and is he your guy, and why was he the only one to get net?
Well, we don't have too many guys with game experience, and the idea going behind it was obviously I think he's played 7-8 games, college experience, so we wanted to give him that opportunity. And then going into this weekend, we're just going to take it game by game. Other guys will get some time, but right now he's the upperclassman, and at the same time he's got to get game experience. We got Barwick that would love to get game experience. He's a little bit older, and then we got Molinaro as well. So I just wanted to keep the one goalie in to give him game experience because I thought he needed it.
Did the guys prove something to themselves going in there, almost sold out crowd? Now, got to go on the road against a really good team this weekend. Did you get that sense that they were like, all right, we can do this?
Again, after the first period, yes, absolutely. In fact, how we started the game, I think we had 4 scoring chances to their 0. We had 3 shots in one. I think the first or second shift, we had another good grade A chance where we didn't score. And that's the way you want to start games. And so to do that in that building, that's a good thing. Like Tanner Lash, our captain's only played 8 games. He was a little nervous, right? But he got 3 chances on his first shift. He hasn't played a game, I don't know how long. So again, a lot of positives to build on. And once we got through the first period, I thought our guys showed real good puck poise. Nothing really fazed them. In fact, I thought we dictated the pace of the game by our physicality and the ability for us to pressure pucks in all 3 zones. So again, I couldn't have been more prouder. Now, saying that, you got to stay humble. That's one game. It's an exhibition game. Now we're going to a top 10 opponent, top 12, whatever you want to say, on the road in the altitude. And they're going to be hungry for wins because non-conference games means everything to the world for a lot of teams to get in the NCAA tournament. They're a team that wants and is hungry to get in the NCAA tournament. So we're going to have a big challenge there, but we're going to do our best to continue to grow.
I think Dahl was +2. One of those young guys. Just what did you think about him and defense?
He was good. I thought all our young guys were really good. You got to think about it from a different lens sometimes. Like these kids, some are underutilized in other programs. That's one. Two, these other guys are actually going to Division III programs. So we hand them a life jacket, and they see our facilities and come in a crowd like this. They want to make an impression, and nothing fazed them, and that's exactly what our young guys did. And they're grateful for the opportunity, but they're working for it. They got a chip on their shoulder, something to prove, and that's exactly how we played.
I'm just trying to think of a good question in terms of, did something surprise you about how well it went, or is it kind of an overall thing that's said, hey, this is okay?
Yeah, it's one game. It's an exhibition game. I think it all goes back to culture-based. I think we got a lot of the team together. All the bonding we did helped. Some of the meetings, some of the leadership skills we've been talking about, that all helps in situations like that to get the nerves out. We just said, guys, go and play hard, play free, okay? But let's pressure the puck. Let's be physical. Let's try to attack their net. So those are 3 bullet points that you need to concentrate on. Can we get better in a lot of areas? Absolutely. But the areas that we said you have your focus on, we are really good. So is it surprising? Yeah, probably a little bit, Mike. But when you go back to what we see and observe and practice on a day-to-day basis, and the feedback that we're getting from our senior leadership group that, hey, coach, this is a tight team. And it always is early. Everybody's happy. Okay, we're going to get smacked by adversity at some point, how we handle that. But we passed the first test. Okay, and it's going to happen again. So it's a matter of passing that, learn from it, continue to grow. And again, go through the process, and the results will take care of itself. And again, we played as well as we could have in an exhibition game against our hated rivalry there, against a good team. They've been to the national tournament 3 years in a row. They're picked second. And like I said, Joe was real complimentary after the game. And again, we're all aware it'll be different in 3 or 4 weeks when we play him one-on-one here. So we'll be prepared for that. But along the way, we got to get our focus on CC here on Friday.
Speaking of which, I kind of relate this to Shane Richardson, the football coach, in terms of it's not about the opponent, it's about you. Is that kind of the way you're going to be looking at things for a little while? Yeah, we know CC's good, but is it just a matter of if we can get a step better each time?
Yeah, focus on what our own team and how we can get better. That's what we've been working on the last 2 days, and we'll continue to do today. And then tomorrow, obviously, we're off and flying out on Thursday. So there are some aspects of our game that we needed to tighten up, and that was our focus yesterday. We got another focus on another aspect of our game today to shore up that. Every week there's something to get better at, every single week. So like you said, focus on your own team, okay? And then if you can be your best in these certain areas, that gives yourself the best chance to win a hockey game.
And the flight, because this is a bus league. You don't get to fly very much.
Yeah.
There are extra headaches, aren't there?
Yeah, that's what we spent all day doing morning. There's a lot of logistical stuff that you got to handle and make sure. At the end of the day, you don't want the guys to worry about anything. You want to make sure they get proper rest, they eat well, we look good, we get a skate out there. There's no issues at the hotel, check-in, all that other stuff. So when the puck drops, again, I've always said, take care of all the distractions, get it out so we can have a singular focus once the puck drops. And that's not always the case when you bus and travel. So we took care of all that today. The boys will get treated extremely well. They'll be rested to the best of their ability, and then we'll adjust accordingly by game time on Friday.
Last thing for me, you said it was culture-based. That was pretty clear on the ice on Saturday. How much has Rick been helping you out, with oversight, and just how much are you guys talking about, where the direction of this team and this program?
You know what, a little bit, but you know what, not as much as you probably normally would. And he'll tell you the same thing. The basketball game that's coming up here, there's been a lot of focus on that. That's been tying up a lot of time for a whole athletic department, not just Rick. But we chatted the other day, and I kind of told him where I thought we were at a little bit, and we're going to continue to be up and down. But And he knows that and understands that. Obviously, he's been a coach for a long time and a hockey guy for a long time. But we haven't had any real long conversations yet.
Obviously not the results that you wanted to come out of the GLIAC. Did you know that Saginaw was going to be that good going into the game? Because obviously they turned things around, punt return for a touchdown. It's like 56 yards, 60 yards. The touchdown really swung the game in their direction. Did you think it was going to be that 63 score, almost kind of like what it was a year ago?
Yeah, I mean, you don't ever think that that's what it's going to be. But I think I said a week ago, they have the capability to beat anybody in the country. I think they were good, and they are capable of playing high-level football. Now, I think, you know, we could have done a lot to affect the scoreboard. What I liked about our team was for the first quarter and a half, you'd say, you know, we're battling and we're right there and we're competing with them, and we were playing GLIAC football with them. And what I would also say is once that bubble kind of popped, it went bad. And, you know, we got to be better to be able to not give up on the intensity and just the competitive nature of what we showed when we first started. And then all of a sudden, maybe you don't get the results you want on a consistent basis and some bad things happen. And all of a sudden, you kind of just cash it in a little bit. And I think that's a little bit what our team showed, is that, you know, we just kind of let down a little bit, and they have the ability to, you know, put some points on the board right away. And, you know, it doesn't take that many. I mean, 7 points for every touchdown, you know, it adds up pretty quickly on not very many plays.
How do you stop what happened from a year ago and now translating this year from happening again, when you don't want guys to quit and you want them to focus? And yeah, we may have fumbled the football, but hey, we got to go get one back.
Sure. Well, I think it's a hard thing with a young team, an inexperienced team, a team that has really never experienced winning. And I think that's what we're trying to do, is create a different mentality of not being so used to the losing mentality and the demeanor and the mentality that we have known for so long here. And we've got to be able to try to shift that. And, you know, you need things to go your way. You need to be able to build on some positives. And, you know, obviously you got to work for that. You got to do what you can to change and fix that. But you just need to continue to build confidence and be able to know that you're capable of reaching it and attaining it. And it's a 4-quarter game, right? I was really proud of the way that we, you know, played that quarter and a half, and, you know, things went really south in that last, whatever it was, 5 minutes or whatever.
7:03.
Yep. And you know, that's tough, right? And so you got to be able to overcome that. That's part of it. And, you know, guys have to show the maturity to be able to do that. So, you know, as a coach, I mean, that's what we're trying to do. You know, we're trying to keep the morale going. We're trying to build confidence. We're trying to show them the great things that we're capable of, and yet there's a lot of improvements that we also need to make.
You guys ran the ball 42 times, 86 yards. Did that kind of throw the offense off a little bit, just not getting anything going in the game?
Absolutely. I think we expected to be able to get a little bit more going there when we went back to watch the film. You know, we're just off a little bit, 1, 2, 3 guys, you know, whether it was hat placement on a block, you know, having a bad step and not being in quite position to get a good angle. And, you know, before you know it, big, fast, strong athletes close windows quickly. And you got to be precise. You got to be sharp with that. And, you know, that'll be a big focus this week, is to make sure that the precision of those things get fixed, and we're better at that. But absolutely, when you know, we're relying on the run, and so when you're not able to run the ball, it really does affect things. And I wouldn't say that our passing game right now is consistent as it needs to be from a totality of being able to do it all the time. I think in spurts, at certain scenarios and moments, we're decent at it, but we've got to be better all around to be able to rely on that to be good for us if we can't run the ball.
Yeah. The Saginaw game at home, first GLIAC game, you know, you guys showed that you were ready for it first quarter.
Yeah.
How do you make sure you guys get up for this one against Grand Valley?
Absolutely. That is the challenge, and that is, you know, the focus of what we've been trying to talk about. Met with the team last night, and, you know, really just showed them the first quarter and a half was fantastic. And, and we weren't even perfect. I mean, there was a lot of things that we could have done better, and, we were battling, but at least we were playing hard. We had a demeanor where we're not going to cower and shy away from them, and that's what it takes. Like, that's the first thing you got to have. Then you got to execute, and you got to continue to find ways to keep battling back and forth and finding a way to be more productive and just to be more persistent. And, now you're going into arguably the best college football environment in the country at Division II, and we've got to be able to take on the thought of, you have to embrace this. There's a ton of people that don't get to play in that environment against the number 2 ranked team in the country, and it's an opportunity. It's not something to be scared or wide-eyed or deer in the headlights about. You got to be able to see it for what it is and just know that we still control what we do, and if we go in there with the hype and the buildup of that kind of freezing us and paralyzing us, well, we're going to get a bad result. If we can take the demeanor and the mentality we went into Saginaw with and do it better and for longer, then let's compete, and let's see where that falls. Obviously, Grand Valley is extremely good, and it's going to be a tough environment, and all the challenges that come along with that. But I just want our team to respond and focus on what we can do better, and show that we can close that gap from what we saw on Saturday.
At 0-5, where do you think the cohesion is at as a group, maybe compared to this point last year,
Mm-hmm.
and especially knowing there are some beatable teams, winnable games
For sure.
later on your schedule?
Yep. I think it's better. I think we've done a lot of work preseason and just in the off season where this team is more together. I think they believe in what we're doing more. I think a year ago it was very up in the air. I think they were very confused. They didn't know. And, I think the team that we have right now, I think, can respond and still keep it together in a good way. It's funny because from the outside, I know a lot of guys and people will not see this, but, a 63-14 score obviously is disappointing, frustrating, eye-opening, like, whoa, what's going on? And yet, what I would say as a coach, like, there's a lot of areas that we're still getting better at, and it's still a really encouraging thing. I had a sick feeling leaving on Saturday, but then on Sunday after I watched the game twice, wow, this is actually good. We can build on something here. And, if our players can just continue to see that, continue to move forward in a positive way, and it's our job as coaches to make sure we keep that energy going with them, and a lot of good can come out of it.
Duke Shovold got his first action. Talk about the decision to put him in and using maybe one of his 3 games, because we talked about that last week,
Yeah.
of when to put guys in and get playing time.
Yeah. Duke has a lot of potential. He has a lot of things that we really like and are going to help our team eventually. Of course, first game jitters, all the stuff, he got 12 reps, and I think he kind of saw a couple things that would, support that. But we're going to continue to work him in as needed, and I think he gives us an opportunity in a couple of different areas of the offense to help us to be better. And he's a guy that we're relying on to show improvement here quickly, and hopefully we can kind of move forward with him. We got 2 more games left with him before we really have to decide what we want to do. But I think it's about the right time to be able to say, hey, let's get this guy going here and see what he's capable of doing, and we'll kind of have a decision in a couple weeks here.
Kind of like an NFL question, but how much does he get with first team compared to Horde, compared to all your other quarterbacks on the team, like Riddle and things, but how much does he get with first team?
Well, I think it goes back to kind of this environment and this opponent. It's hard to throw a true freshman into that right away. So I think we're just trying to protect that concept. But I think he has every opportunity to compete for to be the starter eventually. I just don't know that it's right now this week per se. But he's growing, he's developing, he's getting better, and that's why we decided to play him on Saturday. And so I expect that he'll just continue on that trend and continue to move forward.
Get your guys too excited too soon.
Honestly, it hasn't been as difficult as I thought. I think one of the benefits of having a mature group that's been through some things is not to downplay this because this is so awesome, but the NCAA tournament is really, really nerve-wracking, and there's a lot of pressure on you, and there's a lot of expectations. So are conference championship games, and I think most of the core group of guys have either gone through that or they came here because they wanted to be part of that stuff. And so their attitude is kind of what maybe I didn't expect, but what I expect at the end of the year, which is it's basketball. Let's really enjoy it. That's our number one thing right now. Let's enjoy the weekend. Let's have as much fun with it as humanly possible. Let's enjoy all the cool parts. And then for the 1 hour in film or the hour and a half of practice or the 2.5 hours of game day, let's really lock in and try to play basketball at as high a level as we possibly can. And I think we have a pretty good balance of that. I'm hoping this experience will prep us for what amounts to the rest of the year, and hopefully it ends up being great practice for some big moments later on.
I got one for you, Coach. Talking about that, obviously for a lot of people, this is an event more than it is a basketball game, right? And so how do you balance that fact with guys that inevitably hear a lot of that outside noise, and you hear these people setting alternate lines and doing all of these joking matters with the fact that at the end of the day, it's still 5v5. This is a real basketball game being played, and how do you get them to dial into that competitive mindset and make them believe?
Yeah, I think to me the biggest thing is embracing it. I think the number one mistake that to me teams make in big moments is they try to pretend it's just another game. And again, this is a really unique thing, but I want us to experience all of that. I want us on Saturday night to be super excited about getting a chance to watch Tom Izzo get his jersey retired at Northern Michigan and think it's a really cool and fun experience. I want our guys, not just this game, but all games, 3.5 hours before a game, I hope they're kind of joking and laughing and don't take anything too seriously. And you can be in this mindset of compete only for so long. And so I don't want to waste any of that time overhyping a competitive nature when we don't need one. But I do expect on Friday we're practicing. So we're going to do film for a half hour and we're going to practice for 1 hour and 45. I expect us to be dialed in mentally. I expect us to be focused. I expect us to be ready to try to compete as well as we can. And then when that's done, go see your families Friday night. Have some fun. Enjoy it. Because if you're not enjoying this, particularly right now, particularly this, you probably should do something else besides coach or play basketball because it doesn't get much more enjoyable than this right now.
Have you talked to Tom and just what's that been like?
Yeah, I mean, so over the years I've gotten to know him, kind of the way that you'd expect. Like, talk to him a few times, get to talk to him more and more and more, and talk to him quite a bit before this event. And everything that you would imagine, that's what he is. He's equally part humble and intense, which are two things that usually don't go hand in hand. But I think that's what makes him so special, is he's able to balance being intensely competitive with still, having those UP roots and being very humble. And I think the other thing about him is he's willing to do things that others aren't. He's not afraid, and you could say he's not afraid because he's won so much, but I think that he's been that way forever. If you think about it, and not that this is my place to talk about this, but he was at Northern, he was a full-time assistant, he left Northern to go be a graduate assistant at Michigan State. A lot of people could say that was a bad career move. Turned out, I think that one worked okay for him. So, you got to give credit to not just the basketball part, but I think that's still who he is, and that's why he's willing to bring his team up here and take 3 days and show off his home in college.
How do you simulate the speed and athleticism of Michigan State in practice?
You don't? Yeah, we can't. We try. I mean, there's so many drills that people do, and we're talked to a lot of people who've played them, and everyone's like, you got to get back in transition and you got to rebound, and if you can do those two things, you can kind of hang in there. And then there's a pause usually followed by, but you won't be able to do those two things no matter how hard you try. And so I don't know. I mean, we're trying. We're talking about it. We did a film the other day, which we normally do, a 3 or 4 minute film kind of previewing the team. And depending on what your opinion is, you could think it was the most cool highlight film of basketball you've ever seen with all dunks on people, or it was a horror film for me personally. I'm going, oh no, I don't want that to happen. So hopefully our guys took it somewhere in between and have the right mindset of, we're going to get dunked on probably. But if we get dunked on, we got to inbound the ball and try to get it down the court and get a relatively good look on the other side. And, I don't know. I'm not putting any expectations on this game from a basketball standpoint other than I expect us to compete our tails off for 40 minutes. We're going to take care of the ball, I hope, because we're usually pretty good at that. And we're going to try to play hard and together. And if we get smacked on the scoreboard, I'm okay. I mean, it's not going to define our season one way or another. We're going to use this as a positive regardless of the outcome. But I do expect to play hard.
Have you thought about what you're gonna, see in the dome on Saturday with 12,000 people in there, and what kind of feelings that will bring about? Because it's gonna be something I don't think any of us have ever seen.
Yeah, no, I have briefly, and every time it's just kind of I can't even imagine it. I will say there's these cool moments within this. There's a lot of times where it's like, well, we got to get tickets situated, and there's so much work that goes into it that sometimes you don't stop and appreciate the cool things. The Bill Raftery thing kind of hit me like, okay, that's sweet. The other one was we were talking to Michigan State people, and they said, well, what's your plan for people lining outside the door an hour and a half before the game or 2 hours before the game? And I'm like, man, that's going to happen. That's sweet. And then I started picturing everyone, these hordes of people walking in, and I mean, again, if some of that isn't cool, I think you'd be lying or you'd be, not qualified to be part of a game like this. You got to try to enjoy that stuff. And to me, there's going to be so many of those cool moments, one of which is going to be we walk in there and, I can't imagine. We come out for game time and you look up and there's that many people in there. I don't even know what that's going to feel like.
Final Four. Last thing for me, you mentioned Bill Raftery being on the call. Have you talked to him and Lisa yet? And also the just exposure for your program.
Yeah, no, I've talked to Bill, and everyone says how cool he is. I can vouch for that firsthand now. That guy's awesome. It was surreal and definitely a unique experience. The best part is I missed his call. So I have a voicemail saved, which is, I'm like, perfect. I'm really glad I didn't answer that. No, it was sweet. So the exposure thing I think is huge. And I don't just think, I think it to me is the other big part of this besides honoring Coach Izzo is Northern Michigan Athletics and the basketball program are all going to be on this pedestal that we've never been on, maybe ever, as far as, besides hockey, as far as a national scale, a national scope. And I think because of that, it's a great opportunity to showcase all of the things that are going on here. And I'm really thankful that the timing worked out, where we're doing this game after we've won 2 conference championships, after we've made 2 NCAA tournaments, because I feel like we're in a spot right now, not just as a basketball program, but really as a university, where we have a ton of things to show off and be proud of and all these upgrades and new things we're doing. And the timing of this is perfect for that, because I think all these people that are coming up for the game or watching on Big Ten Network who don't know anything about Northern Michigan, I think they're going to be blown away and go, wow, that's a special place and that's a cool place. And it'll help us in recruiting, but hopefully it doesn't just help basketball in recruiting. Hopefully it helps everything and everybody with showing what we have.
Oh, I don't want to ask this, but I will anyway. How many Colin Carr dunks were on that 4-minute video?
A lot of Colin Carr dunks. It was like I said, it was kind of like a horror video if you had my mindset of it. I'm sure it would have been pretty cool a year ago, but it was a little scary. But no, they're really talented, and they've been practicing for a long time because they start in the summer. So they're I'm not saying mid-season form, but they've been going for a couple months. We'll have had about 6 or 7 official practices in by the time we play them. So the good news is at least their coach is inexperienced and probably doesn't know what he's doing. I think we can really get them there. But no, I don't know. They're talented. We're gonna try our best.
How excited are you to see all the youth from around the area, whether you're in Houghton, Ishpeming, St. Ignace, being at this game to witness Northern Michigan or Michigan State basketball?
Yeah, I think, again, it kind of ties into, like, we're showing off what we have, what we are, what we're doing. And the reason that we're going to get a lot of people here is because Tom Izzo's coming back in Michigan State. But once they get here, I think it's a great opportunity to showcase what Northern has. And I think, as far as, kids growing up in the UP, it doesn't get much bigger than Coach Izzo. I mean, that's the pinnacle. And for us to be able to share the floor with them, especially with, like I said, the success we've been having, hopefully that can also elevate the Northern Michigan basketball brand to, is it going to be Sparty? No. Is it going to be the premier program in the UP where people want to play? We think so, and that should be a lot of fun as well.
Sweet. How nice was that?
It was great. We have to figure out our second set. Now we've had, I think, 3 in a row where we've really struggled in that second set. But overall, to get a sweep at home was huge for us. The obvious one is Jackie Smith setting the record for most kills all time in Northern Michigan volleyball history, which is a very historic program in and of itself. So we're really proud for Jackie to be able to celebrate that moment. It was an interesting moment because we were struggling a little bit when it happened. But the moment it happened, you're like, okay, this is bigger than anything that's happening in this moment. And so she got a standing ovation, which I was really happy about. And then we got back to work and got it done. Lake State and Saginaw, there's still programs on the rise. But look at Saginaw. Saginaw went against Tech, and they beat them, and Tech beat them in 5. But they were on the ropes, and that I told to my team, it's not necessarily that Tech is not good. They are good. It's that Saginaw is better than maybe we were giving them credit for when they walked into our gym. So proud to get that sweep, and now we're kind of on to this weekend.
Yeah. Coming up quick, the rivalry matchup. Just what are your thoughts on that match this year when you guys are both playing pretty well? Yeah,
Tech got off. They were on fire. They won their first 4 matches against really quality opponents. They struggled a little bit at their home tournament, and I think that kind of got them in a little bit of a rut that they're working their way out of, but they're working their way out of it. And like any good rivalry, you kind of throw that out the window anyways when we're playing each other. And the coach and I were just talking about the memorable matchups we've had in this arena in particular. And so I'm just excited to compete against a quality opponent and kind of see where we stack up. But ultimately we have to be ready to go. They have an outside who basically won that match for them on Saturday at the end that we're gonna have to try to slow down. Their right side is young but athletic, and they do some things that we're not great at defending from their offense. So we're gonna have to really work this week to get better and prepare for that. But ultimately I think our team's in a good place. We've won our last 4 at home, and Tech has to come to us, and so we have to use that to our advantage as much as we possibly can. And they've never been in our gym. Like, we typically in the preseason will scrimmage them, and I said I didn't want to scrimmage them here because I didn't want them to see the gym until they had to play in it. And so we hope that advantage gives us some help. And then it is Mental Health Awareness Week, and our match is a spotlight to that, and we're doing a green out. We're just hoping that a lot of fans show up in green to kind of create energy, because I do think last year we won in 5 in a reverse sweep, so we lost the first 2 and won the last 3, and the crowd really got into it for those last 3, and so we're hoping that energy can kind of spark us right away.
Well, let's talk about that, mental health awareness with your team, especially being a male head coach of a female sport, and I know your assistants are females. Just how do you kind of create a positive environment? Clearly you do, but how does that work for you as a coach?
I think it starts with relationship building. You have to build trust within your athletes, where when they are struggling, they feel confident enough to come to you and be vulnerable and say they're not feeling well, or they're dealing with something that's bigger than them in that moment that they're struggling to overcome. And the beauty is that we have resources all over campus that allow them to get the help that they need, or at least direct them in a way that they need to be directed. And so we try to be really open about that as well. And I know a lot of our coaches have been really instrumental in creating awareness of these things, because it is hard, right? And we are in a huge transition in athletics in general, where there was a time where the coach just ruled with an iron fist and you just followed whatever they said, and you just sucked it up. And now we're just in this point in time in the universe with 24/7 access on your phones to everything, where you have to be really mindful of the athlete and what they're going through and the struggles they're facing, the stressors they're facing. That even me, I'm not that old, I can't comprehend what they're dealing with. as a college student, not only a college student, but a college athlete. And so I think the number one thing is you got to build that trust within your athletes and within your team so that they feel comfortable coming to you. And sometimes it does take a little bit of a nudge. I've had athletes where I've said, hey, just come talk to me for a minute. Don't, preface why. And then by the end of it, you've had this huge breakthrough. You just got to kind of get them to walk into the door. And so we have partnered with an organization called Helinski's Hope. It's a national program that really puts a spotlight on student athlete mental health. And I won't get into the details of what that is, but it's a really worthy cause, and anyone that's listening should research it because they do really good things.
The chances are there,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, look, we're unscathed. We've lost 3 straight. We haven't scored any goals. Many of us can look to blame the refs, but we can't do that. At the end of the day, it's on us to put the ball in the net and also to not make errors that we're making. So regardless of the shot count and the possession count, we ended up losing 3 games that probably shouldn't have lost. Whether the referee made an impact or not, you just got to control the things you can control, and we talk about that all the time. And I don't think we played particularly well on Sunday, to be fair. I think it was a long week. Definitely played well enough to win the games on last Sunday and St. Cloud on Wednesday. But we're a young team, and they're learning the hard way, unfortunately, and they're learning, unfortunately, at the wrong time of the year. So at this point, we're just going to move forward with the guys that we think are going to be able to handle adverse events on the field, and that's what the Shyiak is. So that's how we're going to move forward. But look, the guys have given a ton of effort. They care. I like I said, I wouldn't want to coach another group. You know what I mean? But we do have to learn our lessons pretty quick here and man up. So.
We'll call them pillars you put in the offseason, building a real
For
culture
sure.
with this team
Yep.
that you've shown off so far this year.
Yeah.
How does that address adversity that you're
For sure.
right?
Well, our first core value is gratitude, right? And then our next 4 core values that kind of set up an 11v11 system are communication, organization, positivity, and commitment. And, those are the first 4. But the next one, and we're trying to figure out what the next 5 will be, the top of the pyramid for us is joy. We're searching for joy. Joy is winning, joy is scoring goals, joy is what you see when you're having a good time. So that's what we're always searching for. So we're trying to figure out what the next 5 pillars are in that 11v11 setup. Last week, I thought we demonstrated that one of our core values is resilience. And that's what we have to harp on now, because whether the refs are against you, the wind's against you, you make an error, you have to be resilient in this game and just push forward. And I think, there was a lot of those moments last week, and we overcame a lot of them. But it's really difficult to overcome 2 red cards, penalty kicks, and all the things. But that's the reality of the sport, unfortunately. And our guys have to figure out a way to do that in a short amount of time. So, but they're going to keep going. They're pushing. They're never going to give up. They never do. Obviously, we had a few injuries on Sunday that maybe affected the way we played. But that's the sport. That's the reality. And we're going to keep pushing. It's one bad week, right? You know what I mean? So we have to put that in perspective. And when you're dealing with young athletes, like for them, it's the world. And for us as a coaching staff, we have to sort of give them a bit of perspective. Like, it's been a bad week, but we got to push forward, and this is a new week, right? And that's how we're going to go.
Obviously, last Wednesday would have liked to convert on the PK chances.
Right. Yeah.
But just not getting a goal across, what do you diagnose as why that's been the case?
Yeah, right now I think it's a mental block. We've given them the reps. I think they just don't believe they can score, and so they're trying to make the perfect moment happen, and that's ultimately not going to happen. Ali Shyiak, Tomas Salami, you would put them on a PK spot any day, any time, and they should finish. They didn't finish those chances, and in 2 of those games, we were down 1-0 at that moment, 60th minute in the game. Those are big moments. So again, it's hard to say, hey, the refs and the wind and all these things. No, we had our chances. We had those penalty shots. So, but overall, from a finishing standpoint, I think it's a mental block. I think they are unconfident in the 6-yard box. Like, we're good for 114 yards, and then when they get in the 6, we have some performance anxiety. So all we're going to do is continue to give reps in that area of the field, and we're not giving up goals. You know what I mean? The other teams aren't. We're giving them goals. Before this week, we had a great average where our goals against average was like 0.5, and our goals per game was close to 2. I mean, that's a winning statistic for soccer. You're not giving them up, you're scoring. And right now, we're not scoring, and we're giving up poor goals. Like, we're giving them to the other team. So we just have to stop the tide, and I think it's going to take a full team effort to do that on Friday.
Those three, and what,
Yeah.
what they showed off this week.
Yeah, we had a great weekend in St. Cloud. We have 3 athletes as Shyiak Swimmer and Diver of the Week, showcasing Toby Stiles, our diver. He had a great weekend. He nailed a new dive. He got his NCAA cut. He won both boards on the second day, so we're pretty excited about him. And he showed a lot of perseverance. He didn't have his best moment on 3-meter the day before, and kind of smacked hard, and then came back and kept diving, and to get up and go again, and then have a great next day. So pretty excited about his fight, and that was really great. And then Kalina was just great. She's a sophomore diver, and she won all 4 boards over the weekend, and she got her NCAA cut too. So they have the divers is kind of a new rule last year that they have to get 2 cuts to be able to go. So it's kind of like 1 down, 1 to go, and to get it this early, we're pretty happy about that.
Cool.
Yeah.
The women's side as a whole, just
Yeah.
how well they
Oh, man.
performed. Were you expecting that, and how proud were you?
Yeah, it actually was. They've been really strong this year, and great mindset on deck, and doing smart things, and really supporting each other. I know Carlotta was also the Women's Swimmer of the Week for the GLIAC, and she was a little bit tired the first day, but the second day she just took off, and it was so good to see. She didn't give up on it, and she just came back with fire and brought her whole team with her. So they've just been really good senior leadership and junior leadership. So really excited about it. And our men, we just need to get healthy. We have some pretty good talent that stayed at home, and we just need to get them back in the lineup, and I think things will turn out well.
How much of a momentum builder was this weekend?
It was good. I think, just to get out there racing other teams instead of ourselves, and they kind of really have their first years kind of set, like, this is how we travel, this is what happens, and this is a college dual meet. There a lot of them are still trying to figure that out. So it was really good to settle in, especially for Saginaw and Grand Valley that are coming at the end of the month, so they'll know what to expect.
John, obviously knew you guys were capable of a weekend like that, but just how nice was it to see everything come together, especially offensively?
Yeah, it was good to get those results and to play the way that we did, especially after an inconsistent start to the season. And Saginaw and Ferris are 2 really quality teams, so anytime you get a result like that against them, it's always a good thing. So we're grateful that the team did some self-reflection over the week, trained especially hard, preparing for the matches leading up to the weekend, and so to have them rewarded for the work they put in is great to see.
Yeah, and Justina, GLIAC Player of the Week, but she was a factor on every goal on Friday. She was a big part of all the success this weekend. How impressed were you with what she did?
Yeah, and we challenged her earlier in the week. I met with her individually and spoke about some things, because she has a massive upside, and she has a massive amount of potential that she chooses to use, and sometimes she doesn't. And so part of the coach's responsibility is to figure out how to get the best out of players, and we're challenging her to be the way that she can be at her top potential more often. And if we can do that, if she can be the best version of herself, it'll help us be our best version as a team. And so I think collectively, when we look at individual efforts, we need them to be all together on match day, again, collectively. And so for her to get that recognition, it's great. We need more of it. We need her to continue to show up on a daily basis, and a lot of our players to bring that type of individual effort every single match. And when we do that, we can be a very good team. But it comes down to choices, and whether or not we're going to make the choice to show up on each and every day is up to them. Obviously, it's still a big part of our responsibility, the coaching staff, but at the end of the day, they have to make the choice that they're going to give 100%.
And then Brooke getting the all-time assist record, I mean, just what does that say about her career and her growth here over the years, and you know, how proud does that make you as a coach to see her reach that milestone?
Yeah, and she's one that she's competitive, right? I think if there's any way to really sum her up in terms of her career, it doesn't matter if it's a Saturday recovery session, if it's the Tuesday after a long weekend, or it's the finishing session before a match where it's just supposed to be lighter. It doesn't matter. It's kickball. Brooke is going to try to win. And I think that's what you see out of this record is her drive to excellence and her drive to get the team to be successful. She had no idea about the record. No idea. And I've been kind of looking at it the last few games to see if she'd inch there and when she would get there. And her, no idea. And so that's the type of player she is. What she wants to do is she wants to win and she wants the team to be successful. And that's what makes her a great leader, a great competitor. And what's the most important thing is ultimately what's going to make her very successful in the next stage of her life too.
Rivalry game on Friday, you know, how are you feeling about that one going up there, and what have you noticed about what they've done so far this year under Melissa?
Yeah, never easy going to Houghton. It's a tough place to play. It's a hostile place to play. You never know if it's going to be. I know last year it was at one time 65 and sunny. Next time it's rainy, snowing, and 30-mile-an-hour winds. So you just never really know what it's going to be like. And the team is, they're always a tough battle, and they continue to fight every single time when they're at home or anywhere really. So every time we meet them, and I've said this before and over again, it never matters based on records or standings or whatever it is. It's just always going to be a grind and a fight. And unfortunately, we don't have a return trip home. You know, it's going to be one and that's it, and it's basically going to be in Houghton. So we have to make sure that we're up for the challenge, and we can't start off flat, because if we do, they have enough weapons and they're good enough to hurt us. So it starts with today's film, training, and mentally preparing for what we know is going to be an absolute fight.